Y'all, it really looks like this horrifying children's book author was planning the demise of her husband for years. And we're going to talk about the highlights of the timeline in today's video. Hello Sofa Squad, and welcome back to the sofa, which is still behind me, with Roscoe on it, currently cleaning his feet. Now today we are going to be talking about the case, again from Utah. This was the woman who killed her husband, and now, well, she took the life of her husband, right? It has not been proven in court, but now she has been charged with actual murder of her husband. Now, she did this and then wrote a children's book on grief and the grieving process that her and her children went through for the very crime that she allegedly committed. So what we're going to do specifically in this video, because I've gotten like lots of little updates here, there, and whatnot, is I have found a timeline, a very comprehensive, boom, 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 easy to go through timeline. I'm going to link it in the description below. If you don't want to like hear me go through it and do commentary along the way, you can just read the whole thing verbatim. And what I'm going to do is, like I said in the intro, I'm just going to put, a little screenshot of a part of it here, use it as talking points, so I'm not going to be reading it from start to finish. So again, I do urge you, if you are interested in this case, to read the whole article and check it out. Now, the article is on NBCnews.com. This is written by Mim Yvonne Burke, and I hope I'm pronouncing their name correctly. It was published on May 24th, 2023, and it was also updated on May 25th. Now, like I said, I'll just put some talking points up here to go through for the article. Now, very quick 10-second version here. This is the case, Kouri Richins. She was charged with killing her husband, Eric, last year. They were having like this little celebration about, a home sale or something like that, and then allegedly he just mysteriously, passed in his sleep. Well, it turns out he had a lethal dose of fentanyl in his system. And she had been apparently trying to do this for a long time. Hence, we're going to get into the timeline now. So let's jump to between 2015 and 2017. You'll see it on the screen here. And you'll also see the September 2020 that we're going to go through as well. But in the first part, this is very interesting to me. So between 2015 and 17, she had purchased at least 4 life insurance policies totaling near $2 million, okay? And he did not know about these. This is red flag central. This starts way back here. Now, I'm not just trying to say because the evidence starts here that that's where this starts, because I think that this began. You don't just wake up and decide to do this, right? There's something already going on, resentment, whatever it is that's making you want to take your significant other out. So let's jump down to September 2020. Eric, that's the victim, he discovers that his wife had obtained and spent $250,000 home equity line of credit on their home in Camas. She had withdrawn at least $100,000 from his bank accounts, spent more than $30,000 using his credit cards, and it's also alleged, the article says, that Richins was appropriating distributions made from Eric Richins' business for the purpose of making federal and state quarterly tax payments and not paying the taxes. This came up to like a little over $134,000, it says. Now, he confronted her and she agreed to pay back the money. Okay, now imagine this. You find out that your wife has done this. Is huge, okay? This is huge, and it also comes a couple of years after, a few years, depending on how you do the math, of all these insurance policies that she took out. So, she wanted some money out of this. Now, let's move down farther. So, October 2020, he consults a divorce lawyer and an estate planning lawyer. Now, she doesn't know. It says he changes his wills, he gets a living trust, and he places the estate under the control of his sister, Kouri Richins Benson. He also transfers the partnership interest in his business to the trust and designated the trust as the beneficiary of his $500,000 life insurance policy. Again, here we go. He sees the writing on the wall. It's like, this is not good. Let me start putting this into safe places away from her, essentially. Now, this is very familiar. We saw this take place with Charles Vallow when he saw the writing on the wall with Lori. And he began switching stuff around, putting in his sister's name and this type thing, which we saw what happened with that. Typically, this doesn't go over well when the person who is getting ready to commit the crime finds this out, right? Now, we already see she's robbed this man blind. Now he's having to switch all his stuff to get it away from her name. I mean, this is a very bad situation. Now, we're going to jump to January 2022, and it says that Eric Richardson and his business partner had $2 million life insurance policies that listed each other as a beneficiary. But the prosecutors alleged that on January 1st, Richardson changed the policy to list herself as the beneficiary. Now, of course, this triggered a thing, and her husband was alerted to the change and put his business partner back as the beneficiary. And later in the month, she allegedly caused an application to be filed for a new $100,000 life insurance policy on Eric Richins' life, according to the document. Now, imagine all this has gone on, right? And then you see that this has taken place. I mean, this man, bless his heart, had to have been frightened out of his wits, scared to death for what was coming down the pipeline for him. I mean, it is so clear that she is getting ready to do something terrible. Let's jump to February 12th, 2022. Okay, so it says that Richins either called, and we're talking about the wife at this point. So it says that she either called or texted an acquaintance named CL and asked for fentanyl. Now, it says the data from her phone showed that she contacted CL several times in January, but authorities weren't able to determine the content of those messages because she was deleting phone data, basically, all the way through his death. Now, CL told authorities, the article states, that she obtained the fentanyl pills and gave them to Richins in a hand-to-hand transaction on either February 11th or February 12th. According to the document. Now, this CL is a huge piece of this puzzle because this is a person who is essentially tying a lot of this together, right? They got these pills, they have way more to tell about how that went down, and they'll come into play a little bit further here, but I'm very glad that they came forward. I'm very glad that this information has, come to light. Now let's get to one of the infamous days here. So February 14th, 2022, Valentine's Day meal turned into a nightmare. The article states when Eric broke out in hives and had difficulty breathing after eating a sandwich his wife made for him. Now this is where, again, red flag central, right? Now, it says prosecutors allege in the document that Richardson's made her husband a sandwich and placed it on the seat of his truck with a love note. After eating it, he gets ill. He needed to use her son's EpiPen. In another document, it does say that he believed he had been poisoned and even told a friend that he thought his wife was trying to poison him. So again, now we've seen this, I talked about this in the other video I made of this, where there is all this evidence of she tried to take his life numerous times, right? This is what she was doing. Now, I'm not familiar with fentanyl and whatnot, but I see enough on the news to know that this is a bad news drug, right? To lace someone's stuff with it, the absolute carelessness of this. Now, of course, do I expect her to care about his well-being or life? No, absolutely not. She's trying to kill him, right? But this just is absolutely horrifying. I cannot imagine inflicting that on someone and writing a love note on the sandwich. I mean, are you kidding me? But again, we study these, or we look at these, we review these type personalities, these, alleged murderers a lot here on this channel, and unfortunately this behavior is par for the course. Now let's fast forward to a little bit later in February of 2022. Now this is going back to the person CL who got the fentanyl pills and saying that Richins, the wife, went back and said that, they're not strong enough, and that basically she wanted that Michael Jackson stuff. Now it does say towards the end here that CL again obtained pills for Richins, according to this document. So again, fentanyl's not taking his life, so let's get the Michael Jackson stuff. I mean, it is clear what she was trying to do, right? And again, this evidence coming forth paints such a grim, horrifying picture. Now let's fast forward to March of 2022. It says that she owed more than $1 million at the time of her husband's death. Prosecutor said in a document, and that the day before her husband died, the prosecutor said she talked to a moneylender to whom she owed at least $1.8 million and had a lengthy telephone call with the IRS. The document alleged that she had outstanding state and federal liabilities totaling 189, right under 190 grand, and also owed her husband at least over $500,000. So you can see the desperation, and often we see that in these cases where when you look for a tipping point, and I'm sure, imagine having this phone call with the IRS that you owe this kind of money. I mean, my God, I hate my little piddly thing that I do at the end of the year, right? This would take my breath away. It takes my breath away. It's not even my own damn money, right? So this to her, for somebody who's trying to take out their spouse, this would 100% be like, they got to go. Very coincidentally, which there's oftentimes not coincidences, March 4th, the day after these horrifying money phone calls, guess what? Eric, at age 39 years old, died after he was found responsive in the bedroom of their home after having a drink to celebrate his wife's business deal. He had 5 times the lethal dosage of fentanyl in his systems. Now, the medical examiner said it was illicit fentanyl, not medical grade, and it's also believed he ingested the drugs orally. Now, it goes on to describe what she had to say here, and it says that she told authorities that she and her husband, they were celebrating this house closing. She made her husband a Moscow Mule in the kitchen, brought it to their bedroom. He drank it while sitting in bed. Now, she goes on to say that she fell asleep in one of her children's rooms. She wakes up, she goes to the bedroom. Husband was cold to the touch. The affidavit said that Richins supposedly attempted CPR on her husband, but medical and fire personnel arrived. They said it did not appear as if she had done CPR due to the large amount of blood that came from his mouth. Now, she also told authorities that she left her phone plugged up in her bedroom. However, investigators found that it had been locked and unlocked several times and showed movement before 911 being called. So let's fast forward to a couple of days after, because the evidence in this doesn't stop going. It's like she doesn't miss a beat after his death, right? So March 6th, days after the death, she has a locksmith drill into the husband's safe. It contained between 125 and 165 grand. And then Eric's sister Katie told Richins to leave the safe alone. Prosecutors alleged in the filing that Richins became angry and punched Richins Benson in the face and neck. So she gets PO'd at this and then attacks his sister. Now, we heard about this in other documents and whatnot. And again, this type of behavior, as shocking as it is, given the context that we're dealing with of a person that's going to kill their husband for all this money and do this, the father of their children. I mean, this is, again, par for the course, right? Their concern is money. Okay, that plain and simple. They don't care about anyone else's lives, feelings, nothing. Their concern is their own back, their own narcissism, their own money, whatever. So let's fast forward to March 9th. So Richins allegedly wrote a backdated check for $1,300 to obtain fentanyl pills from CL. CL told authorities that on March 9th or 10th, she left the pills in a fire pit in the backyard of a home owned by Richins. Now, it makes you wonder with this, a backdated check for $1,300 to obtain the pills. What was she going to do with these? Was there someone else on her hit list? I mean, you see how it went with Lori, right? They started taking everybody out that wasn't that was in their way. Let's move up to July 15th, 2022. So the sister hires a private investigator to track Eric's wife, Kouri. Now, she files to remove the sister-in-law as trustee of Eric's trust. Now, they've been in like a battle with this, basically ever since, right? Now, the private investigator basically has not spoken on the case, so it'll be very curious to see if he was able to find out anything. Now, let's fast forward to March 7th. So this is a year after the death, and she publishes a book titled Are You With Me? It's dedicated to my amazing husband and a wonderful father. And the Amazon description says that it was written to create peace and comfort for children who have lost a loved one. As you can imagine, the book is no longer available. Now, April 6th, in an interview with KTVX-TV of Salt Lake City, she discusses the book and her husband's death, and she says it was unexpected. It took us all by shock. My kids and I kind of wrote this book on the different emotions and grieving processes that we experienced last year, hoping it can kind of help other kids deal with this and find happiness some way or another. She went on to talk about how she would tell her children that their dad is still here, just in a different way. Now, this is the part that gets me with this. It's like this entire scenario is only specific to one person. It's like you write a book for grieving children and stuff, but really what happened is, and again, allegedly, she's not been tried yet. She takes her husband out, writes a book about it to continue profiting off of it. Both profiting and an ego feed, I'm sure. It's like this book is specific to one person, right? And that is her. So this is the icing on the cake. A lot of these crimes that we see, there's usually a next level thing. So far for this one, this is it, right? Now, I'm not trying to let this overshadow the fact that she killed her husband, allegedly. That obviously is the main takeaway of horror in this. But the icing on the cake, the salt in the wound, is to then go write this book about it. I mean, I just, I can't imagine. It makes me wonder the conversations that she had with her poor children, who have lost their father. They don't know any different. They're just kids, right? And the things that she told them, knowing what she's been up to for years. So May 8th, she's arrested, charged with aggravated murder and 3 counts of possession of a controlled substance with intent to distribute. She has not entered a plea. She's due in court June 12th. So that's the little timeline here in a nutshell. I found this. I wanted to go through it because for me, it just really laid things out very simply. Again, the full link to the article is down in the description, so be sure and check her out. She is a senior breaking news reporter for NBC News, so be sure to give her a follow as well on all of your socials and whatnot, because she'll be somebody to follow for this case. Now, again, my overall thoughts with it. Now, number one, she ain't gone to court. We all deserve a day in court. We get that, right? I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a shrink. I'm not none of that fancy stuff. I'm just a guy with a sofa and a dog and some opinions on true crime. So if this turns out that this is all true and that this went down, again, look at the state of the world that we are in these days. This kind of behavior is disgusting and shocking, but it's becoming normal. Now, for this specifically, it does look like to me that she's been planning this for years, right? I imagine that something took place with them that she, in my opinion, you don't wake up and have this this kind of a personality disorder to where you're going to do the next level stuff she's been doing. This has been going on, right? And just festering and growing and whatnot. Now, we've learned in other documents and whatnot, I talked about in my other video, that he was remaining with her for the children. And my hat, I tip my hat to that because I'm like, you know what? That says a lot. Unfortunately, he lost his life in this. Now, for someone to say, I think my wife is trying to kill me, I'm going to stay with the children, that's his choice. I'm not shaming him for that. I always sit here and think, did he really, really think, my God, I truly believe she's trying to kill me? I mean, I would assume so. Look at the attempts that she made where it was quite clear he had been poisoned. Now we know, intentionally overdose type thing. She had never gotten the dosage amount right. Again, at some point in time, these boys are going to understand what happened. So at the end of the day, this guy, he was 39 years old, y'all. I don't know about y'all, but to me, life really started in 40s, right? I don't know, to me 40s have been the best years of my life, but I say that pretty much about every decade, but I really mean it about the 40s, okay? So what I'm getting at is this guy had so much life ahead of him. It's so tragic. This guy had a lifetime of his children that's been stolen from both of them. This is what blows my mind is one day these boys, if not, I don't know exactly how old they are. I believe they're all under 11 years old. I could be wrong on that. They're young, right? But they're going to know this. And these boys who don't know the intricate details of all this. All they know is they've lost their father and now their mother. Now, mind you, I will say this. If this is all proven to be true, even though I know it sucks, that's her mom, that's her family, clearly they weren't going to be safe with this woman, right? Because someone who's going to do this, you never know. The boys could have been next, right? We see this all the time. And so you never know. So again, if this is proven and she definitely did this, then absolutely they don't need to be around her. But again, their children, this is their mother, they don't understand that. They just know that she's gone and their dad's gone too. And that's what these crimes do, is they rip apart families and lives for generations to come. Can you imagine this? So again, we're going to keep following this. Again, a lot of people have been sending me articles on this and whatnot, and I felt like this one really just kind of combined a lot of the stuff that's been coming out. So anyways, if you're still watching, thank you. Drop sofas down in the comment section. Show love to all the victims, in this case and all the cases that we talk about. And until we gather around the proverbial campfire to talk about more of these, I'll see you there.